Welcome to NEK-VT Rocks. My guest today is Rick Ufford-Chase, and you are, I'm not sure what your exact title is, but you're working with what we now call NCDD, but everybody around here knows as Renaissance.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How did you get here?
How did I get here? Well, my family has been in Lowell for 6 generations. So my mother grew up in Lowell, and I grew up. She didn't live in Lowell when I was born. We've lived in other places, but I've been to the Northeast Kingdom 2 to 4 times a year my entire life. And then the pandemic came along, and my wife and I were running a 90 guest room conference center down in the Hudson Valley, and that was the wrong business to be in a pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, we took 6 months to lay off 50 employees. And then we had the good fortune to have built a small cabin on the property where my folks live in Lowell today, that my mom grew up on. And we were able to land there, and we came with the hope that we might make it last, and then fell into a number of opportunities that made it great to stay.
So you're still living in the cabin? Cool. Have you built onto it yet?
Oh, we don't intend to. It's small but reasonable, and I built it. I call it the cabin that Craigslist built, because about 80% of the materials in it are used.
Right.
But it's winterized and comfortable and just fine for the 2 of us.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then how did you wind up with Renaissance or Newport City Downtown Development?
Yes, that's the correct name.
Now.
Which,
yes.
So just to be clear, that's a nonprofit organization, for those who don't know, that's partnering with the city and downtown businesses and nonprofits to try and bring economic vitality back to downtown area. And the reason I fell into this position is because I have a long history of doing work with volunteer and nonprofit organizations and kind of organizing and motivating and inspiring volunteers to give to that work. And so it happened that my sister-in-law, Eleanor Legere,
who we all know,
who many people know in this town because of her
Great
work
cider.
with the Tasting Center and the Eden Specialty Ciders, right? Eleanor called me up. She was on the board and said, we're really looking for someone who could help us to kind of bring this little organization that's had quite a history back to life again post-pandemic.
Right. It has had quite a history.
Yes.
And I'm sure that as you've walked the streets, and I've seen you walking the streets, you've heard various components of that.
Yes, it's like a puzzle. Little by little, I'm beginning to try and, I think I've got most of the timeline figured out at this point. But there's a lot of rich detail in that history that's hard to uncover. And so I'm just taking my time and getting to know people.
Well, the good news is you also get to begin again. And I think that's probably really helpful.
You know, I think I've decided after about 6 months that my status as an outsider-insider, someone who's always cared about this community and oriented toward Newport for the fun things that we like to do as a family when we visit here. It makes me care desperately. I really do care about what happens to the city. And it's probably not a bad thing for someone who's a little bit outside of the historic kind of relationships to step in and offer some new kind of vision and coordination and excitement and enthusiasm to the process.
It's true. So what's the organization doing? What are you doing?
Well, that's a great question. You know, NCDD is organized on a model called Main Street America. It exists all over the country. It's been embraced in the state of Vermont as a way to try and help drive economic activity in small communities and cities. And so Main Street America, the model suggests that there should be 4 volunteer committees of the organization. And none of the 4 committees were actively working when I came in September. They had all kind of fallen into disuse. So my first move was to try and begin to reinvigorate the Marketing and Promotions Committee, which is basically made up of the downtown businesses in the designated downtown area, and to try and get them all on the same page and working cooperatively with one another.
Do you have cats?
Do I have cats? I don't. I have 1 cat. I have never tried to herd cats, but it's a little bit like that.
I know.
Right? Everybody's busy. They all have lives, and you know, our small businesses in this town, and even the larger ones, they're all going a million miles an hour, just trying to hold on. So a lot of what I said as I walked in the door to meet people for the first time was, I am not going to be a burden. I'm only here to be helpful. And if you think I'm being less than helpful, you should tell me so. And so my job is to just walk in their door on a regular basis and say, here's the next idea. How and when would you like to participate? And then to try and coordinate those answers that I get back.
So who's coming up with the ideas?
Well, really, the ideas are being generated. At first, they were generated by, I managed to get 15 of the businesses to all get together for a few weeks, once a week, and to just share ideas. And that gave me some fertile ground.
That's great.
And that's how we came up with the idea for what we called Hot Cocoa Saturdays.
Those were fun.
And they were fun. And they did what we hoped, which was they gave us one Saturday a month in January, February, and March, where we all tried to do something similar. And it gave me, as an employee of Newport City Downtown Development, something to market. So I was able to do ads in the Chronicle and the Newport Express and on Moo 92 and JJ Country and Facebook ads. And we generated modest interest, even in the middle of the winter, even when it was super cold outside. And we tried a bunch of fun, crazy ideas. And some of them worked, and some we tried once and thought, okay, that wasn't
Perhaps
so great.
Not.
Yeah. But we tried different things, and we got some experience with one another.
And what I saw of it was that it also helped the businesses because it brought people through the door.
Yes, that's the goal. And I think it did it some, and we have a long way to go.
It did.
Yes.
That's true. But in those months of the year, and we didn't have good snow this year.
No, we didn't.
We would have had a ton more people in town if there'd been some reasonable snow. What we got was fluff, and it was pretty useless.
Yes.
But, and I can only really speak to NEK, which is one of the organizations I'm involved with. That brought people through the door. They came downstairs and did a painting workshop, and that's really cool.
Well, and MAC is, I think, a hidden gem. I mean, honestly, if we didn't have MAC Center, I'd be trying to figure out how to create it right now, right? Because what I really am looking forward to is a time when both locals and visitors to the area start with a consciousness that there's a collective of, 28 artists in this community?
30-something.
Yeah, I mean, 2.5 dozen, 3 dozen people who are all already organized and working cooperatively to try and lift up the arts in our community. It's remarkable.
Well, that's only the tip of the iceberg. And have you been into NEK Crafters?
I have not yet. I've heard about it just recently. That should be next on my list, right?
Yes, it should.
Okay.
It should have been there already.
Yes.
I mean, I get that it's not part of the designated downtown, and that's a problem. Because just because somebody else has decided what counts and what doesn't, that's really a shame.
Yeah, so let me explain the designated downtown thing. What's going on there is that about 15 to 20 years ago, the state of Vermont went out of its way to try and create a program to try and reverse the decisions that were made, or not reverse them, but to deal with the impact of the decisions that were made back in the 70s about single-use commercial zoning that gutted all of our downtowns in Vermont, right? And to do that, they said, well, we've got to drive energy back to those downtown areas. And they created this program called Designated Downtowns that provides tax incentives to some businesses that locate there, and it bumps the city up in priority when public money is available through the state. And to get that designation, that's where the requirement for a nonprofit partner comes from, right? So that's why it started. So our designation is pretty limited. The state insists that it has to be a walkable area. And it basically for us it includes starts at the east side, comes down across Waterfront Plaza and the Causeway, and then down Main Street, and a few blocks on either side. So having said all of that, it's clear to me that while my focus as director of NCDD has to be on supporting those businesses located in it, it's also true that there are a lot of other fabulous organizations, businesses and nonprofits that are peripheral, that are actually helping to drive energy to the downtown area.
Very much so.
And I need to be engaged with those organizations at some level as well. So it's a dance that I'm trying to figure out.
Particularly as you hear things like, well, why don't you have a bookstore? Well, we do have a bookstore. Our bookstore is right over that line of nobody's supposed to cross. And that's really a shame. Right.
Well, so like I said, it's a slow process of trying to build relationships with all of those places. And clearly I've started in the downtown designation. But I'm also beginning to reach out. There are some really fabulous nonprofits that aren't physically located downtown,
Right.
but have everything to do with the long-term health and our ability to create what we're calling a four-season outdoor recreation economy for Newport.
5 seasons. This is Newport.
Meaning,
Don't forget the 5th season.
what's the 5th season?
Mud season.
Well,
And
I would have
that's-
said it, but I'll
That's the
confess to you
se-
that I live in the mud on a dirt road in
Yeah,
Lowell,
exactly.
and it's not the season I like to lift up
No,
first.
but it's the season that does bring people downtown, because what else are you going to do then?
True.
All of the other fun stuff, outdoor stuff, is gone.
Well, and it speaks to something that I think we can really build on in Newport, which is, Newport is not flashy; it's
No.
gritty.
Yes.
And there's a heart to Newport
Absolutely.
that is, it's not just the fact that we face on one of the most beautiful lakes in the state, or for that matter in New England,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's also that there's a spirit here that I think is really
Right.
vital, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about it.
And create some mud events.
Exactly. I would love to see us with that kind of gritty approach to kind of poke a little fun at mud season and play it up next year. That's absolutely on my mind.
Really play it up. I mean, there are a lot of races in other areas where they create mud.
Right.
We've got
Well,
it already.
I ran in the Fly to Pie that Kingdom
Right.
Games put on, and we all ran in the rain this
I
time
know.
last year in
I'm
October.
fully aware. I was the 10K start.
Were you?
In Irisburg, yes.
So it was, and I had a ball running in the mud.
Yes.
It was really fun.
Yeah. We're used to mud, and it's something that we can really have a good time with.
I'm right with you.
So what are you doing next?
Well, we're working on a project right now with the Economic Development Committee. That's the second of the 4
Yeah.
committees. That committee is tasked with trying to create a vibrant opportunity and culture and ambiance that is conducive to businesses, supportive of businesses in the downtown designation.
Would you like to explain what that is?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think we're going to have to try and keep creating it as we go. But
Cool.
the project we're starting with right now is we've interviewed 3 different companies that build electronic outdoor interactive kiosks. And we're in the process of trying to put together a proposal to bring 1 or more of those kiosks to the downtown area so that both visitors and locals, when they're, hanging around looking for ice cream at Tim and Doug's down at the Pick and Shovel, can walk up to this kiosk and push buttons on it that will say, here's a list of all the restaurants, here's what the menu is or the special is at this particular restaurant, here are the activities going on in the city right
Cool.
now. So we've got a ways to go on that proposal, but we're making progress, and I suspect we'll have something to show for it within a year.
Cool.
So that's the next big project there. There's also a committee that does design work.
Right.
That I'm slower on, in part because, honestly, from my perspective, the city's been doing a pretty nice job, particularly around landscaping and the kind of beautification projects they've
Yes.
done. So I haven't rushed because
Sure.
it feels like there's work to do there that's kind of more peripheral to the
Yeah.
core work that the city's already doing. And then the last committee I work with is called Organization. And really, it's the inward focus committee.
What does that mean?
It's just there
Yeah.
to make sure that we are practicing good governance as a nonprofit. So that's where we're dealing with committee structure and finance and all of those kinds of things, and
Yeah.
making sure all of our documents are where everybody can find them. And so I'm
Right.
doing that as well.
So you're doing all of the computer stuff, because I know the website sort of fell into, shall we say, a pit somewhere that
Actually, I
could
should
not
give-
be accessed anymore.
I should give credit where credit is due. It was the board members of NCDD who did the rebuild of the website last summer, and it
Wow.
was just almost finished when I came on in September. And I think it's beautiful now. It's discovernewportdt.com. And the piece that we've added since I came on is a calendar function that is up and has been tested. And I'm working right now to begin to populate it this month so that we are hoping that it will become the go-to location for a wide variety of events that are going on, including things that are not located downtown, but again,
Right.
that people might want to know about if they're interested in the downtown.
That is something that everybody has asked for ever since I've lived here. If that works, that will be fabulous.
I'm pretty confident that you're going to like it.
Yeah, that would be
It's
great.
up and running, and it's got what we wanted, which is 2 ways of viewing the information. On
Mm-hmm.
the bottom of our homepage, it just scrolls through with different events that are upcoming with pictures and descriptions.
Right.
But it also has a page that you can go to that lays out a month-long of the calendar,
Okay.
and you can see it month by month for the rest of the year.
Right.
So when I get my act together, we'll be able to plan these events out, and someone will be able to come on and say, I'm going to be in Newport the third week of August. What's going on that week? And they
Right.
can see right in one place.
And those who are organizing events can say, oh, I'm thinking about the third Saturday in August, and they can go look if there's anything already scheduled then.
That's right.
Because it's really sad when, as a small community, we quote double book.
Right. Or just as sad, and happens regularly, I've discovered, is when something gets booked and one hand isn't telling the other, and ways, businesses that could be
All
supportive
the
of an
time.
event aren't even aware that it's taking place.
All the time.
Or,
Yeah.
one event that happens and there's another part over here that says, oh, I didn't even know that was going to happen. I could have been a
Yeah.
part of it. So we're really working on those things, and I hope I tell people I'm trying to underpromise and overdeliver.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, if
I
you
know
can
there's a
deliver
lot
that,
to do.
If you can deliver that, you will get all the...
It's coming.
Yeah.
And actually, it's coming quickly. By the end of April, you should be able to go on that calendar and see everything that we have in mind for the summer right
Yeah,
now.
that's great.
So.
What do you have in mind for the summer?
Oh, the summer is, it's going to be so different than the winter. It's going to be so much better and easier. The big exciting thing is that, the lead, of course, is that the city's going to do the big 4th of July event that they always do. So there will be fireworks and events going on over in Gardner Park, and all of that will take place. And I've been working with the new recreation person, Mike Brown, who I really like and hope folks will get
Great.
to know. So there are some city events. Mike is also talking about a first Saturday event each month, July, August, and September, called Summer Stroll. And they're going to do things along the waterfront and bring in activities and things that will get people out and just kind of engaging with how beautiful
We used to
it is.
have the Friday Shuffle.
The Friday Shuffle, was it sponsored by somebody or was it unofficial?
I don't even know what that means. It was organized by those of us who live here.
Yep.
So it was, quote, official in that sense. I
Yes.
mean, do you think we need a divine intervention?
No, I'm just asking if anybody was taking responsibility as an entity for organizing it. Mac was doing it.
Mac took the lead on that with Jay.
Oh, that's
Jay
fabulous.
Peak. It was great.
Yeah. So he's gonna try and bring something like that back. The big news, for me at least, is that Wednesdays on the Waterfront is coming back.
I know, that is fabulous.
I
Everybody is thrilled. We keep going to their website and there's nothing there yet.
I keep pressing Vero and Andrea, and they keep insisting that they're almost ready to go live with it all. So
Sure.
I've been holding off actually on being very public about it, but
Oh.
they tell me that for sure it's going to happen. It starts the first week of July,
Right.
and goes 6 weeks on Wednesdays through
Yeah.
the 10th of August.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about being visible about this. It's already out there.
Yeah, and no, they're letting folks know that it's happening, but I don't have any of the specifics yet.
Right.
So,
Well,
but
that's wonderful.
that's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to that. So,
what
and then of
else?
course Kingdom Games is doing the big open water competitive swim. I think it's the 23rd of July. It's the late July,
Right.
and that includes people who are doing 25K swim. In fact, I just agreed with Phil White that I'll be a kayak support person for a woman from the Bronx who's going to swim that 25K. So it's going to be fun.
Phil's really good at getting people hooked in.
Yes, he is. Well, and I went to him and said, you had me at hello. I want to be a volunteer and be a part of I believe that he's creating something powerful and potent for this community.
He already has.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But what I mean is it's growing every year. This year there were 130 people signed up for the winter swim.
I know.
And he tells me that he's aiming for 175 next year. Every year he figures out
He
how to make it
already
go bigger.
has 120 or something signed up for
Yeah,
next
it's
year.
pretty remarkable. So, and a resource that too many local folks don't even know about. There are folks coming from all over the country and around the world.
That's right.
And my family in Lowell didn't even realize what was going on until I got involved in this world. So, how we help prick the consciousness, kind of get inside the culture enough locally so that people are aware, oh my gosh, I could be a part of that. I was on Newport Rocks the other day on the Facebook page, and I saw this really great thread going on with a woman who had said, I'm just new to the area and I've got
Right.
kids, and 45 or 50 people had
I
chimed in
know.
with ideas about what she could do. It was fabulous.
Yes.
It It's really great.
Yeah, we have so much that's available
I know.
here. It's just sort of tuning into it. And it's so easy to get caught up in day-to-day living, particularly if you've got kids in school and there are umpteen different activities. It's really hard to then do all the legwork to find out what else is available.
That's right.
How is your group going to engage community members? And I don't just mean as passive spectators or even participants in that way, but so that they're involved and they feel a part of.
So my first job title when I started in September was Community Engagement Specialist, because the board recognized that NCDD
meant diddly squat.
really, it wasn't connected to the
Right.
community in any meaningful way.
Right.
And we all agreed that my first priority had to be reconnecting with the businesses and the nonprofits.
Yes.
But having done that, I am now beginning to really get out there and tell the story and make it clear that there are ways for volunteers to be involved.
Huh.
Yesterday, I met with Forever Young
Oh, yeah.
at the Gateway Center.
They're great.
And they gave me a half hour to talk about our work and to begin to share with them. 2 weeks ago, I gathered a group of young adults, mostly who came through the Young Professionals Association. And we all had drinks at the warehouse one evening so that they could share ideas and we could begin to look at how to link them
Getting
up.
together with you is really going to be hard and suffering, isn't it?
Well, yeah, if you want to go to the warehouse and have drinks, exactly. So, those are, I was in Rotary a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
So I'm just beginning now. If you'd asked me a month ago, I wouldn't have had those 3 examples to give you, right?
Right.
I'm just starting to say, okay, there's something going on that we can actually share now. And I'm beginning to reach out in the community.
Your biggest resource in Newport, as with most other places, is the people who live here.
Right.
And they have been, I'm not going to say blown off, although that is in fact the reality for a lot of years. People want to be engaged, they want to be involved. And you've only got to look at our last election here. In a voting population of well over 3,000, 307 people voted.
Yeah, which honestly feels a lot like the small town I moved here from in New York. And so the challenge in any situation like that is not just to say to people, come if you feel like it, but rather to learn what their passions and their skills and their excitements and enthusiasms are, and then say, wow, can I see a place for you to link up here? Would you be willing to be a part of it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you have an amazing skill base here.
Yes. I agree
just
entirely.
requires saying, come on in, as opposed to stay over there and watch from the sidelines.
Well, I insist that Newport has good bones. It has all kinds of opportunity, and that includes the fact that we're on this beautiful lake and this incredible location,
Yeah,
right?
it's gorgeous.
It includes the fact that there are many efforts that have been in process, driven often by nonprofit organizations in this community, and we need to figure out how to connect with those efforts, like Memphremagog Watershed Association, Memphremagog Trails, Kingdom Games, right? There are some really great, the library is really working at trying to put creative projects up on the boards.
Right.
So there's all kinds of opportunity there. And there's this, as you suggest, this kind of untapped resource in the community. And that resource is actually growing and changing right now, too. There are people moving to Newport, choosing to come here. Yesterday, I was with someone who said that she had had a conversation, I think on the day of the Winter Festival. She had walked down the street and she said to someone, what brought you to Newport? And the person said, oh, I actually just moved here. And she said, well, why did you move here? And the person said, because someone met me when I was here on a visit and I was considering making a move. And they were so friendly, I decided right there in that moment that I was moving to Newport. So we're all of us ambassadors.
Right.
And we need to be thoughtful and intentional about ways in which we connect as ambassadors, I think. And having said that, I know there's history. And all I can really say is that the board of NCDD is clearly committed to reconnecting with the community and getting a fresh start. And I want to be all about being a part of that after
there
the
are clearly
pandemic.
a lot of changes, and that's the good news. That's a really good thing. And hopefully that energy can sort of keep going. But it will be useful if you can, in your travels, come up with constructive ways that people on the street can be involved.
That's my job.
I hope so.
Yes. So my title has changed.
Okay, who are you now?
So I'm now the, well, my official title is Executive Director, but it's a 15-hour-a-week position, and executive of anything seems a little bit glorious. So I'm calling myself the Director of Newport City Downtown Development. And we made that shift from Community Engagement Specialist in large measure because we just needed to recognize that I was taking on the responsibilities that a director would normally carry in an organization.
I was going to say, did the pay increase too? I'm joking.
The pay's what I need, and it's great. And you know, I'm giving an honest 15 hours a week, and I have other jobs and another life outside of this work, and so I'm not likely to take on much more than that right now in my life. But I don't think we need it. There's good, solid potential for volunteer energy in this community, and that's what we want to mobilize. Not my work, but our work collectively.
Exactly. Yeah, a focused 15 hours, it's actually pretty good.
It is good. And to be fair, it's not just me. We've also contracted with Brian Maravich, who runs Newport Dispatch, and he's a fabulous photographer.
Yes,
and
he
he's
is.
doing most of our social media work. So he and I meet each week and make a plan for the work that we're each going to do that week. And that's been going on now for almost 6 months, and we're really enjoying the partnership. So I feel fortunate.
He has a lot of skills.
Yes, he does. And they're not the skills that I have, right? I don't have those skills, and I know where my limitations are.
Right.
So it's a match made in heaven.
Right. He's made some wonderful videos.
Yes, he has. And you know, it's easy to show off this city, but it takes some skill anyway to pull those things together and make them really look good.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it appears by looking at the videos.
Correct.
You think, oh, anybody can do that. No, they can't.
Right. You know, you look at some of what he's created, and it's you know, stuff that he's getting with a drone.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. It's
exactly.
really beautiful. Yeah.
Exactly.
But we've got so many opportunities. The Northern Star is going to have another great season after what was clearly a successful season last year.
And that's been so much work to get started. It's so amazing.
I can't even imagine, not having been inside, just the bumps and challenges along the way.
Brutal.
But Maritime Community, what is it? Memphremagog Community Maritime, right? MCM.
Memphremagog Community Maritime Organization.
I'm so impressed with that group and what they're attempting to do, because it's the boat, but it's also bigger. They have a big vision for using Memphremagog as a learning classroom for our own kids in this community.
Exactly.
And all of Orleans County. And I'm thrilled and can't wait to be partnering with them as well.
Yeah, there's so many directions that can go. And the schools are already engaged.
Right. You know, last summer, I had family visiting 3 or 4 different times, and I was out on the boat for 3 times last summer, because it just felt like the thing to take people to go and do and see.
It's fun.
It is. It's really a blast. It's a 2-hour tour, and they get you right up along the close edge of the shore. So people come out on their decks and wave, and it's another piece of that kind of community esprit de corps that I find so exciting.
Yeah, I've been out on a kayak with a swimmer and had the boat do a circle around us.
I love that.
It was fun.
Yes.
It was fun.
Yes.
And it just feels like community.
Yep.
And we're so small up here that it's really important that community feels strong and feels involved.
Right.
And that's what keeps people here. It's not that we have these fabulous jobs we wish we did, but reality, what we have, is much better.
Yes, and we're going to work hard to rebuild that job base too, because that's a critical piece to Newport's future. You know, we need to work on all the pieces together. We need to deal with the fact that Newport, like everywhere else in Vermont and in most places in the country, has a housing crisis. We need to deal with jobs that pay a livable wage. And this is I tell folks, be patient. It's a get rich slow campaign, right? A lot of pieces from a lot of different places all have to come together over the next 5 to 10 years to turn this community into the thing that we all dream it can be.
Yeah.
And I believe in it. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Are you working with the schools at all?
I've not yet reached out, except through North Country Career Center.
Yes.
So I have begun making inroads there, and we are absolutely looking for ways to partner with them. So.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive resource. I mean, the skills there and those young people are always looking for projects to be involved with.
Over time, it's coming.
I know.
It's definitely on our minds.
Yeah, I mean, your brain must be spinning.
It is. I lie in bed at night, and my head just goes all kinds of places about what we could try next.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Well,
so we're just about out of time. what's the next thing that we can look forward to here? Those of us who live here.
Oh, so there's one more thing that I haven't mentioned, which is that most of us who are local know a little bit about the path, the waterfront recreation path.
Yes.
That got completed last year. And so our big task this spring is to do some work to make sure that people know about the path and know how to access it and know how to get the amenities that are available to the path, like, the great outdoors offering bike rentals along with paddle boards and kayaks. So a project I'm doing right now is being organized by, we are part of the rural, let me make sure I get the title right, the Newport Rural Tourism Academy. It's an organization that's been created, or a collaborative that's been created by Northern Forest Center. And their interest in this is helping Newport to make sure that the moves we're making on outdoor recreation are sustainable over time. So we don't bring lots of people here and destroy the very thing that we're trying to build
Which is a risk.
Which is a risk everywhere, yes. So Northern Forest Center offered Newport the opportunity to create this little collaborative with their support called the Rural Tourism Academy. And the first little effort that we're making together as a group in this collaborative is to do some basic signage to get people onto the path, and then to make sure that they know how to navigate the causeway through the waterfront area, and then past East Side and up around to Prouty Beach. But really, the fact that you can get on a bicycle here at the municipal building downtown, or the Gateway Center, and go all the way 7 miles to the Canadian border, and then once the border reopens, keep on going.
It's open.
It's right. Well, I don't quite know how the mechanics of the trail work yet, but it's incredible, this resource.
It is.
So we're really working on that. We're going to build a new map. We've got RFPs going out this week to create a map that will show that full trail and all of the local trails that feed into it, and the parks and the amenities adjacent to it. And I hope to have that we'll get that finished up before the season really starts, the end of June.
Yeah, Blue Cross and Blue Shield funded that last map.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll put them on my list of people to go talk to.
On that note, we do need to stop, but thank you so much for coming in, and I'm sort of assuming that you'll come back fairly regularly. So
anytime you make an invitation. I'm really grateful, Pam, for this resource.
Keep it going.
And what y'all are doing, and it's all part of that puzzle, right?
Right.
NEK-TV, and the fact that there's a way to reach out to the community like this is a fabulous resource that, again, if it didn't exist, we'd have to go looking to create it.
Exactly. Well, NEK-TV is available for other uses too. I mean, it doesn't have to be this show. You can come in here and use the studio. That's what Community Access TV is.
I have a lot to learn, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.